So, the last few days, I've had there's this weird thing that happens. If I haven't watched horror movies in a long, long time, I'll start having dreams that are horrific. And it's always been a sign that my brain's saying, it is time to watch a horror movie. Now, Yvonne doesn't like horror movies. So instead, I watched Tucker and Dale versus Evil, and that should satiate my brain for now. But I'm a big buff. Here's the thing. I love Freddy movies, I love Jason movies, I love Michael Myers movies, and I love Ash movies. Now, I'm going to grade this basically for somebody who may not be a horror fanatic. Or for somebody who is a horror fanatic and wants to see how I grade them. Now, when you're saying, okay, I'm going to watch horror, sometimes it's a matter of a marathon. So which ones work best for a marathon? And I'm going to go 10 through 1, and I'm going to explain it. 10 would be Jason, Friday the 13th movies, because they're all basically the same movie. And there isn't really a problem with cohesion of storyline because there isn't one. If I was going to go with 9, I'd go with the Evil Dead movies, which don't follow each other. They don't at all. But they're great movies. They're fantastic. 8 is Freddy, because sometimes you're not worried about cohesion. There are some really good chapters in the series. The first movie's great. The third movie's great. The fourth movie's great-ish. And the rest of them are kind of murky. 5 tries really hard to do something different, so it's worth watching. Michael, because the original Halloween is fantastic. And then it gets tricky from there, and you'll notice I picked the ones that I have a collection of first. 6, well, I can say I watch Scream movies, and the Scream series is very good. It's very good. The Scream series, honestly, was better than it had any right to be. So I'll go with 6. And then 5 is this of the Dead is the George A. Romero series, and I know this is sacrilege. I like Night of the Living Dead. I enjoy Dawn of the Dead somewhat. Day of the Dead was okay. I watched it once. Land of the Dead I really enjoyed. This is where all the Romero people are going. Are you crazy? I'm not a huge fan of the Romero movies. Like when they talk about how Dawn of the Dead talks about our commercialism and how we're all zombies at heart. And it's like, I don't think it's that complicated, but okay, I'm glad you guys got all that out of it. 3 or 4, I would put the Jigsaw movies. If they stopped at 3, I'd say, yeah, watch them all. They didn't. I have 2 and 3, because I think 2 and 3 are the best movies in the series. The rest of it is just, like, the first one's good but boring, and then the rest of it is just kind of there. The 4th movie kind of started off somewhat promising, and then it just fell off the rails. 3rd, I'd put Pinhead, again, if they stopped at 3. If Hellraiser had stopped at 3 instead of making 86, however many movies there are, sometimes they don't even have the right actor playing Pinhead, which is sacrilege. It's fine if it's a guy in a mask, like Jason. But when you've got an iconic character like Freddy or Pinhead, you know, Michael, you can change the actor every movie, it doesn't matter, but Freddy and Pinhead are iconic, and when you try to change them, you're screwing up. 2, I would put the Texas Chainsaw Massacres, and 1, I'd put Chucky, because I can't even get through the original Child's Play without just shaking my head. Now, so that's if you're going to do a marathon. Best villain. Best, most interesting villain. Freddy gets a 10 out of 10. Ash is not a villain. Or is he? Is he always the one that unleashes the power of the Book of the Dead? Yeah. So he's unfortunately the villain. He's like Barry Allen on The Flash. He's an unfortunate villain. He tries to fix everything and usually screws it up worse when he tries to fix it. 8, Jason. Jason, because he is different. He's slow. And in life, he was picked on. And there's something sad, pathetic, and oddly relatable with Jason Voorhees and his hatred of the world. 7. This one actually is tough, because they try really hard. I'll put George A. Romero's of the Dead series because the zombies do evolve throughout the series, and I appreciate what he tried to do with them, to the point where by the time you get to Land of the Dead, the zombies aren't really the bad guys anymore. It's kind of the humans that are being the dicks that you kind of feel like, yeah, the zombies should just turn them all because they're all pricks. It's the Walking Dead scenario where it's just the pricks that live. 6, Michael's an interesting villain. I think what Rob Zombie did when he rebooted it, I think he tried to do something different, and I think it bothered some people. 5, Jigsaw's an interesting character. Of course, he doesn't live through the whole series, but he's interesting, and it's interesting in what he does. Leatherface at 4, because again, he's kind of a pathetic character. And when they did the reboot, and then they did the soft sequel after, I was very much interested in what happened there. And I found myself enjoying the storyline of 10 years later and ignoring that any of the sequels had ever happened. I found myself really drawn into that. Now, if you're going to have Alexander Daddario in a movie, that's a really good way to get me to watch it and enjoy it and probably want to watch it again. So there's that. So take it with a grain of salt. Pinhead's interesting. They show some character development in parts 2 and 3 with Pinhead, and then he just dives right just into just being kind of a comic book character. Ghostface gets 2. Why? Because Ghostface is a different person every time, and sometimes the killer's interesting, and sometimes the killer's just stupid. And Chucky, again, gets a 1 for me. Now, strongest, let's just say you want to watch one movie, and you're looking for the best movie. Ash gets 10 because Evil Dead 2 is the perfect horror movie. Freddy gets a 9 because Elm Street, the original Elm Street, is just behind it. For 8, I'll give it to Pinhead for Hellraiser 2. Great movie. 7 goes to Michael Myers for the original Halloween. Classic, fantastic. 6, I'll give to Scream because of the original Scream movie. Again, sometimes the sequels just drop the value of the franchise. Again, it's like, oh, I'm into this category here. 5, I'll go with Friday the 13th. My favorite was always Part 7. I know that's kind of sacrilege, but it's Jason versus Carrie, except they gave her a different name because they couldn't get the rights to Carrie. But it's an interesting idea. And it's Kane Hodder. Kane Hodder as Jason is just different. It's just different. It's why I love Jason X. Because Kane Hodder as Jason, and then he's cyber android Jason. It's just really weird. 4, again, that's for the reboot. That's for the soft reboot with Alexander Daddario. And then they make Leatherface a more three-dimensional character in that movie. It's actually really interesting what they do with them. 3, because Night of the Living Dead is an iconic movie. I've seen it probably too many times to really grade it higher. 2, I'll go with Jigsaw for Saw 2 was my favorite. And Chucky, because I can't get through a Child's Play movie. So there we go. So in terms of grading, so I've graded which ones to watch, which ones are the most interesting character. If you're going to watch it in a series, and then if you're just going to watch one movie. I'm trying to think if there's another category I could go with. There really isn't, because I don't grade movies on gore. I don't grade them on body count. So what is our score here? Freddy, Nightmare on Elm Street gets a 27. Jason, Friday the 13th gets a 23. Pinhead, Hellraiser gets a 14. Michael Myers and Halloween gets a 20. Leatherface, the series of movies of his murdering everybody, goes to 10. Chucky, 3. Perfect score. If this was golf, Chucky wins. 9, 18. So there you go. 28 for the Evil Dead series with Ash as the unfortunate villain. Jigsaw, the Saw series, 11. Ghostface, from Scream, 14. The Of the Dead series, 15. So your winner is Ash and the Evil Dead series. So that's the one I'd recommend the most. Second, Freddy and the Nightmare on Elm Street series. Third would be Jason and the series of movies of Friday the 13th. I like the reboot, and I'm sorry. Even though I know it's Sam from Supernatural and you keep waiting for Dean to show up. Fourth place is Michael, the Halloween movies. Fifth place would be the Dawn of the Dead, Return of the Living Dead, Night of the Living Dead. Not Return of the Living Dead, that's a different series altogether. If Return of the Living Dead was part of this, then it'd get a higher rating, because I love those movies. I have 1, 2, and I think I have 3. I think I've ordered 3 already at one point. I don't know, I'm going to have to check into that, because 3 is fantastic. 3 has a lot more going on, anyways, a lot more going on than it should. So it's between Pinhead and Ghostface. I'll go with Ghostface. 6th. 7th, they both have 14 points. Jigsaw comes in 8th with 11 points. Leatherface is 9th with 10 points. And Chucky is last place. So there you go. If you're not a horror fanatic and you're saying, I want to watch, what do I want to watch? Your best bet is to go with Evil Dead, which is 1, 2, and then Army of Darkness, which is fantastic and funny. Not a horror movie at all. Then there's an Evil Dead remake, which is just called Evil Dead. The original is The Evil Dead. Yeah, I know. And then there's Ash versus Evil Dead, the series, which is fantastic. So that's your best bet. If you've never watched horror and you want to just watch a marathon and just watch a lot of it, and that's what I'm ordering season 2 of on Blu-ray, because I haven't watched it yet, and I'll be watching it by myself because there's no way Yvonne can get through it, and there's no way I'm going to let the kids watch that. The boys are far too likely to take the violence and go, hey, we could recreate that, and it would upset Adelaide to see it, so I'm not going to do that. Let me know your picks in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, and this is a first. I am doing a video non-hockey related first, because this is what's been bugging my brain lately. Let me know what's been bugging yours movie-wise, and what else I can do a series like this with, whether it's sitcoms, adventure, sci-fi, whatever you think. So let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you again soon.